I don't know why certain things just tickle me to death, but I do realize I started out this podcast specifically talking about voice acting. And I've always been fascinated with really any performance, but voice acting especially because I've always been kind of a radio nerd. And voice acting is a way to be a digital radio personality, and your voice can be heard anywhere. Phone trees, airports, Walmart, wherever. And one of my favorite experiences, I will say, of hearing a voice actor do a commercial was back when I was in television. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with a mud bog, but it is a very southern thing. It is basically a drag race in the mud, which is quite entertaining, I will say. And a commercial for a mud bog came on with this most pristine, professional sounding voice actor saying, mud racing and mud bogging. Not ging, bogging, high end apostrophe. I just thought that was so funny. Mud racing and mud bogging. So this art form, voiceover artist, acting, all of this, it's so universal, and you will never ever really know completely where someone's recording. They could be doing exactly like I'm doing right now, recording in a spare bedroom that has been modified to be a studio, and their voice is being heard by millions on a very popular show that's streaming. I mean, or millions of people in the airport, at the Atlanta airport, for example. I mean, it's wild to think about that. I've always loved diving in, and thank goodness for Wikipedia. I've always loved diving deep and seeing how our favorite recordings were done. And I love the history of it. I love just all aspects of creating something from scratch. But I just thought that was funny. It just popped in my head, and it just tickled me to death. Mud racing and mud bogging. So one of my favorite activities is waking up and enjoying some good quality television with the cat, Stevie, named after Stevie Nicks. Yeah, I woke up one morning stretching, brewing some coffee, and turned the TV on, and I got the no input. I was like, huh? So my first thought was, well, whatever it's connected to, well, it just may not be on. No, it was on. Operating perfectly. Okay. Well, let me check the cable. Change the HDMI cable. Still no input. Okay, well, let me try input 2. Nothing. No input. Some beautiful, pre-stored images of 4K, beautiful scenery, but not what I was intending to watch. And I was like, this is annoying. Now, I am one of those people into streaming, but I love having external devices. Like one of my streaming devices is a Google TV, and I love it. It's awesome. Apple TVs are very similar to Roku. They're all great. The thing I like about the external device, the hardware just seems to be a little bit better quality than what's built into the television, and it gives you more flexibilities for running surround sound and directly connecting Ethernet. You can go really geeky and make it like super robust and amazing sounding. It's really easy to do that with these external devices, but all this stuff's getting easier and easier now with audio over HDMI. But anyway, that's beside the point. I was like, oh no, the inputs don't work. I've had a TV, which is now in my bedroom, do the same thing, but fortunately, it was a power surge or lightning, or yes, surge from lightning. Got in and blew out one of those ports. And fortunately, I was still able to use one port. I'm talking about this like it's an airplane in the sky. No, I mean, Oh, I'm so glad we have redundancy here. I mean, it's not the end of the world here. I can't watch TV off of HDMI in the living room. But I got to thinking, wow, a power surge or lightning or whatever took out both HDMI ports on this TV. I was like, that is terrible. So what did I do? Got on good old YouTube, and I found a tutorial on how to replace the main board in the exact model of television I have, and I cannot believe how simple that process is. So if you have a flat panel television and you have ran into the same problem with me, don't be intimidated. Now this might, like I talked about building this actual microphone that I'm talking into you right now. Don't be intimidated by electronics. I mean, that's a good way to start too. That's probably, I would say that's more entry level than actually soldering up your own microphone circuits, PCB board, and starting it from the ground up. But yeah, get on YouTube, find your model of television, and then order up a replacement board. And it was far cheaper than replacing the entire television. And you know how it is. You get used to where everything is on the menus, and you get used to it. And sometimes it's, mounted on the wall. And you really don't want to start over again, pull it off the wall, But in this case, you do have to pull this particular television off the wall. I didn't have this one wall mounted. My bedroom TV is wall mounted. But I got to thinking, after I did that, I waited a couple months and I ordered a kit for my bedroom TV, which had a blown out HDMI port for years at that point. Swapped it out, and I've got two inputs again on both TVs. I took my time, really just took my time, made sure I was completely discharged of static electricity, and that's very critical, and that's really simple to do. You basically just stay really still. Don't rub your feet on the carpet, anything, fabric that can generate static electricity. And having higher humidity helps too, which we have no problem here in the South with that. Then touch the chassis. Nowhere near any solid state components, which, be ICs, transistors, that kind of thing. Just put your finger on the chassis and ground yourself out and discharge yourself. And then just start taking screws out and unplugging ribbon cables, and you'll have that board swapped out in no time. And you just put the cover back on, turn it on, and then you got it fixed. I was so amazed. So many consumer electronics that I decide that I want to try to fix myself are absolute nightmare. You just about destroy it getting it open. And then once you get it open, you realize, oh, well, everything is glued in place. So you got to destroy it more to get into it to repair what's wrong. But this was very easy. I highly recommend repairing your own TV if you had that same issue. On the subject of DIY, which this show originally started out as, doing stuff yourself. DIY, consumer electronic repair. Sticking with that subject, this is a different day. This is the next day, by the way. Recording this on Friday, June 12th, 2026. I had a trash can that started acting up on me. One of those fancy ones that has a motion sensor and it automatically opens its lid and lets you put your trash in there, and it waits a little bit and then it closes. It just started acting like, it just had a mind of its own. It was like, yeah, I'll open if I feel like it. And then when it doesn't feel like it, it doesn't open. And it just sits there and flashes a light. It's kind of like laughing at you. I'm not going to open it anymore. So I was like, oh boy, what is wrong with this thing? So another one that was really, really easy to repair. I was like, oh boy, I was expecting, pry bar, breaking all this glue to get it apart and then shattering it. And then, hey, I fixed it. But now it's shattered it. I got to glue it back together. No, this was very simple. All it was a spring that holds the lid open, had slid down the shaft. And it just slid down a little bit, and it was not providing enough tension to keep the lid open. And it has an encoder wheel, which is basically just like a fan that goes by a sensor, and it's mounted on the shaft of the motor, and and I guess it picks up it's slowing down, so it'll stop applying power to the motor, and then it'll reverse the motor, and it's actually very sophisticated. A gearbox and an encoder. This is like some freaking robot, miniaturized. But I was like, oh, I can't find just the lid, and I don't know if you've ever tried to throw a trash can away. It's almost impossible. All joking aside, though, that was very easy to repair, and cross my fingers, it's still doing good. But there's nothing to keep that spring from sliding down the shaft, other than just pure hope and faith in it. So I probably will take it back apart and put something on that shaft, some kind of collar. I don't know. I got to think of something. Maybe just a blob of glue to keep that from happening again. But so, hey, if you have one of these mainstay trash cans that's acting up on you, take the screws out and just slide that spring down the shaft. So sticking with the subject of doing it yourself, this one is very hilarious. This is one that I discovered by accident back when I really started getting serious in recording, about 2004, is the more clutter you have in your room, your recording space, the better. My bedroom was an absolute disaster. I still have this problem to this day, but especially then, just too many projects going on at once. Just way, way too much going on at once. So you end up building a bunch of clutter. But the room sounded great. It sounded great with drums, but there was hardly any room to work in there. Tons of stuff. But really, if you have a spare room that you kind of use as a closet now, I mean, I would try it. I would get your phone. I'll have to look at this again. I think microphones, at least on the video mode, sound recorder mode, I think they're omnidirectional. So that'll be kind of your worst case scenario. Just get in there and turn the sound recorder on and record something and just see how the room sounds in a space that's very cluttered, because the more random surfaces are in the room, the sound waves will bounce and then just kind of scatter and then, get diffracted, and it'll just basically ring itself out. And, that sometimes can make your sound worse too. It can emphasize and de-emphasize certain frequencies, right? But that's kind of the name of the game that I've learned so far, is keeping it random. And now if you're acoustically treating a space like I have in this studio, definitely go with various materials. Keep it very diverse, just to keep that hollow sound out of your room, but also making it where the room doesn't color the sound in a negative way. Coloring being applying equalizers just from the acoustics that you don't want. So definitely just bring a bunch of stuff in. It works great. I was really, really impressed with that. I think that's why closets work so well too. You can always record voiceover in a closet, and then you're good to go. So back on the subject of production, digging more deeply, I tried Auto Punch for the first time. Auto Punch, it's kind of a funny sounding term, but what Auto Punch does is it basically gives you like an automatic record. In the old days of tape machine, an automatic record play, take your two fingers and you record, and you can punch in. I've explained punch in before, but in a brief summary here, if you have a particular take that you're not happy with, let's say voiceover or music, you've got your performance down, but you got this one spot you're not happy with, you can go back and re-record just that one spot. And Auto Punch allows you, as let's say a singer-songwriter or a voice over artist, and you're doing all this yourself without having the mouse click in the background, or you having to physically hit record at that moment. You can set a timeline, a time span that it's going to punch in and punch out, and you put your digital audio recorder into Auto Punch and just let it go, and you can actually hear your previous recording in your headphones, and it's going through, and then at that moment it's going to start recording, and you start singing, you start playing your guitar, you start voice acting the new spot, and then it'll punch back out and you're back into your original recording or your previous take. It is a really nice tool that kind of minimizes the nerves. I get it when you're performing and those nerves will get to you, but if you can have your equipment just kind of do its own thing in that moment, you can focus on your art, and that's a big part of it, right? Is getting a really good performance. So I've been really happy with that. Just been loving it. I use it on this podcast all the time, mainly to get rid of the mouse clicks or the keyboard, Command R or clicking record. Don't have that. It just automatically starts recording exactly where I selected it. So definitely check that out. It might really help your workflow and help your sanity when you're trying to get a good performance going. On the subject of microphones, JP and I talked about this on episode 11 and 12 of season 2. Always assume a microphone is hot, and it made me think about this YouTube video I found of a city council meeting. Well, just take a listen.
But I do want to just say that if your life has not already been touched by an antibiotic-resistant disease, it probably will be at some point. My mother has fought a MRSA infection. I have a high school friend whose 3-year-old son almost died from C. diff, and he will be dealing with the consequences of that for the rest of his life. But the thing is that these deadly infections, there's something we can do about it. And what we can do is call on governmental representatives that are higher up the chain of command and ask for action at the federal level. I am aware of Mr. Brainerd's concerns that he raised last time, and there would be instances where I actually agree that we should take action locally first, but there are not any CAFO operations in Georgetown, so for us to just say it within the city limits would be an empty gesture. And also these diseases don't know any boundaries, so a state-by-state approach would just mean that there'd be clusters of disease that would would go across the border. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking now and ask that you give this serious consideration and approve this resolution.
So, a real-life moment that was almost exactly like a movie. If you ever seen The Naked Gun, the movie, inspired by the TV show, I think it was the mid-'80s TV show Police Squad. Definitely check that out. So a council member, or well, I guess in this case it was Lieutenant Frank Drebin, had a wireless mic pack on, and he left it on and went to go take a pee, and everybody in the meeting could hear him pee through the speakers. So yeah, it's the old classic saying, assume a microphone is on. And actually that clip made me think of another classic clip of someone getting tickled to death, and then once that happens, there's just no stopping it. Check this out.
Gormley. And I'm Stuart Moore. So glad to have you with us. We'll get you to your morning headlines in just a moment. But first, let's go to a normal guy over there in the Weather Center.
Just a regular dude.
Good
morning to you. Yes, I am a regular guy, and I hope that you're excited about this wonderful Tuesday. Are you as regular as I am? The satellite this morning shows sunshine here in the southeast. and snow up at the top of the map. Let's zoom into the state. Come on, Stuart. Come on now. All right, 6:32 is the time, and temperatures in the low 40s. St. Matthews 41. 39 again. Oh, come on. All right, now it's going to be just as breezy today. Wind kicking up. We have a lake wind advisory in the forecast. It's 7 o'clock. 54 the high today, Hollywood Elementary School. And y'all got to get it together, because this is just the weather. You've got some serious news to get to. I'm going to try to pull myself together as well. Good morning, guys.
Once it happens, there's just no holding it back. You just got to let it fizzle out. It's like a fire that's just out of control. You just got to let it burn itself out. When something tickles you like that. I don't know if you noticed this, but this was a very relaxed summer show, just kind of kicking stuff around, a little bit of cleanup, and hopefully I gave y'all some good technical advice and a little inside of production. Thank you all so much for listening to the Ricky Harris Media Podcast. See you guys and gals next month. Later. Bye.